This mouse I'm going to show you today might be the most interesting mouse of the year, and definitely the most interesting mouse from Razer. That's the new Razer ProClick V2 Vertical Edition. And yes, they will also be coming out with a regular form factor ProClick as well. Now, of course, this mouse is a lot different from many other mice we've taken a look at, but I'm still going to go through the exact same test here. And I want to start off with the dimensions of my hand, as that's going to play a big role here when I talk about it being big, small, or how I grip it. So at least you got a relatable starting point to kind of go off of. And real quick, I'm going to throw up these specs on the screen here, as I don't really like wasting time talking back of the box specs. I prefer talking about my actual time with the product. But if you're interested in them, here they are. So let's go on and dive into this mouse and figure out what it is. And we're going to start with some raw measurements here, as I don't think any back of the box measurements or anything like that will really help us out. So, I mean, where do we even go with this? Let's go ahead and start with the length right here from back to front. Right there, you can see it's a big guy, but I also want to get it right here because this is where your hand's really going to be, from them buttons and then to the back. And you can see it's pretty much right at the same right there. As I say that because, again, you grip this mouse like this, which we'll talk about here shortly. Now, if we get the width right here, as you see right down there, but again, the width is really different because you're going to really have your thumb sitting up here. So you're going to want to see that width as well. And if we go up from the top, it's pretty much the exact same as well up there. And then up top where you're going to be holding it, or should I say up front, there is that. And then the height from bottom to top right there. But you do also have this little ledge flaring out here on the side. So again, as far as measurements of this mouse, did I get the distance from here? I'm not even sure where the heck I measured this thing, right? Because again, there's so many different points to really be gripping this mouse. As you see, you hold it like that. So hopefully those measurements, again, the height really doesn't matter. It's really, I think the biggest measurement's going to be right here, as I showed you. And I'll give you that again, going in from the thumb. Oh, I think we went this way, so you get a better measurement right there. And then again, kind of seeing where it bulges out there from this side. So hopefully these raw measurements kind of give you an example of it, but this is a big mouse. And hopefully the thermal test here will give you a good example of what I'm talking about with this being super big. Again, kind of gripping it like that, like you're holding, I don't know, maybe a burrito in the hand or something. I'm going to get some heat signature or some heat transfer over to this mouse, and hopefully the signature will pick it up and you can see, because this is seriously a handful. So letting it go, you can see my thumb rolling right to the back, but you got this. Ooh, we're freezing up here. You can see my palm is resting on that little hump in the back. And if we swing over to this side, it's pretty much like a glove. But again, for me, I'm not hitting towards the bottom. It's definitely up towards the top. So whenever it's in my hand, I don't know how you guys can see this in there. You can see I got that little space in the bottom. So you can see heat in my hand, not touching the mouse. So if you got smaller hands, I can see you really engulfing. Like if I try to make my hand do it, again, it's kind of engulfing the mouse a little bit too much right here. So for me, it's definitely almost like a, I don't know, would I say like a relaxed claw just kind of resting down there? Because again, I'm not hitting the bottom down there. But if you got smaller hands, I can see your hand really, again, sitting towards the bottom and it really fitting like a perfect glove. But for me, it's definitely hitting just up towards the top. So hopefully that heat signature in the raw measurements really helped you kind of decipher what this mouse is, how big it is, how it's going to really fit in the hand. Because no joke, it is big, but it's not like a big ergo, even though it is a big ergo, but you know, it's different than many other mice we're thinking of, you know. But I really wanted to emphasize that if you got smaller hands, I can see it really kind of really fitting in there like you're about to throw a baseball or something. But for me, I'm definitely resting on there, and I got that gap in the back. But you know, I don't think I've ever said this about a gaming mouse before. I usually say it about gaming headsets, but this thing is stinking cozy. Now let's go and take a look at the weight of this mouse, and I just want to show you there is a dongle storage on the bottom here, but the dongle is out. Just for clarification, it's plugged into my PC right now. Slapping this on the scale, we're going to come in at 150 grams. So yes, it is lofty, but the crazy thing is you really don't feel it because you're not gripping it like a traditional mouse, right? And I just want to show you it compared up to the MX Master here. Slapping this guy on the scale, we are coming in also at 150.4. So pretty much right at the same. But the weird thing here, again, how I mentioned you don't really feel that weight because you're gripping it like this. this, you're going side to side with your hand rather than, again, from the top to bottom. You just notice that weight on a traditional type style mouse over here, gripping it like this, being, again, the same weight, it feels drastically lighter. I'm not sure if because it's so light up top and all the internals are down towards the bottom, so it's just gliding like that. That's my guess. But again, of course, you're gripping them all the same way. But again, everything's kind of jammed into this shell, so you're feeling that weight glide around like that. You know, like from traditional gaming mice, everything's right there. When over here, all the stuff's on the bottom, up top where you're moving it is really light. And I think that's what's really differentiating them, because it doesn't feel like 150 grams. Now, you all know I always bust out the force gauge meter and test the build quality by pressing into it with pounds here. And I'm really not too sure where to press this. I mean, we can press it in the back here all the way up to, shoot, I can probably get up to 20 pounds. I'm not getting any flex. Even over here by the thumb rest, no flex. Down here on the bottom, no flex either. Even if we go up towards the top, there's no flex. I mean, this thing is incredibly solid. Now, the buttons do kind of glide towards the back, so even if you press it kind of like right here, you can see the split, right? So it's going up here from the frame, and then they go into the buttons right there, a little bit up towards the front. So you can press the buttons back here, all the way up to the front. Of course, it's incredibly firm back there, but as far as core build, no matter how you're gripping this, if you grip it tighter, you just constantly sit here and squeeze it, there's no flex. Like with this odd shape here, this thing is built solid. Now let's go and get a quick sound test of the buttons. I'm gonna set my mic right in front of it. And let me tell you what, the buttons on this mouse are incredibly solid. Like, I don't have all this excess play or don't feel real smushy. They're kind of crispy right to the point right there. They're very big. Obviously, you can decipher one to the other. You got this little AI button up here, which you can hold down and activate AI, which I don't use, but it's also your DPI button up there. But as far as 1 and 2, like, they are incredibly solid. You don't have all this excess give up there. The scroll wheel feels a little bit light, maybe a little bit plasticky, kind of more productivity than gaming. Like, you know, maybe accidental slips here and there, but if you're just browsing or working, perfectly fine. But all the way around, like, they just feel great. And as far as the coating of this mouse, it's pretty interesting. As you see, the entire inside where your thumb's going to be resting is that rubber type of grip as we're used to on like the older Death Adders, all the way towards the bottom and up here. I just really like it, nice and grippy. And then coming over here to the outside, as you can see, it does collect a lot of sweat and grime out there as it's kind of rubbery gripping, right? Like, I can almost feel like I dig my fingers into it. I mean, it's not mushy like that by any means, but it's quite grippy. If we look at like the Death Adder V3 Pro, and this is one of the newer ones with that soft touch type coating, this is even softer touch than this. Like, oh man, I really like it. Like, I hope they use this coating on more of their actual gaming mice. It is incredibly nice, but yes, you do see it collects quite a bit of grime. Now let's go and talk about performance of this mouse, and I'm gonna touch on gaming and productivity here, as I did test it on both of them, but just straight to the point, I think this mouse is definitely geared more towards productivity than gaming, unless you're playing, I don't know, maybe like a puzzle game or something like that. I can see this working out here, but it does have some gaming specs packed into it. Again, with that 30K sensor, goes up to 1000 polling rate, which is all perfectly fine. You got that cool RGB on the bottom, which I did leave on mine using the majority of the time, and battery life was plenty fine. I think they say it goes up to like 6 months of battery life or something. Absolutely crazy. And of course, you got Bluetooth and wired or wireless, which you can cycle through all of them, multiple platforms right there. But with my time using this mouse, it was pretty interesting. When productivity, say if I'm working on a video, I caught myself using it or trying to use it like a regular mouse, right? Where I'll glide left to right. But with this one, when I glided to the right, like if I'm pulling a clip or something like that, I always caught myself angling upwards. So I could never get it straight to the right. I always pulled to the right and went upwards. I don't know, maybe over time you can get used to it. But again, going from this mouse to a different mouse, it was just always weird. And I couldn't get those precise adjustments whenever I was, again, editing a video or something. Like if I'm just browsing, perfectly fine. But again, for those micro adjustments that I'm used to, I think I would just have to use it a lot longer to truly get used to those arm movements where I'm not just going like this. I almost got to like pull down with it. It's just really weird. And talking about gaming with it, I mean, it performed plenty fine and I did a little bit better than I expected. I thought I was going to be complete trash. I wasn't great by any means, but I did decent. But again, I could not get those quick movements. If I knew someone was right to the right of me and I saw them, I couldn't just go like that, right? And I was even running at a DPI of 1600, which, yeah, I do usually run around 1300, depending on the mouse right there. But using this one even higher, I just couldn't get those flick movements, which is, again, I don't expect this to be a gaming mouse, so I'm not saying that, but I'm talking about my experience with it, gripping it like that, which you're almost like holding a weapon, you know what I mean? You'd kind of think, oh, that'd be pretty cool, but you just can't move really fast with it, you know what I mean? If you're sitting there like sniping, perfectly fine. Like, I think you'll be perfect here, but it was just interesting to game with it. The other thing that I noticed, which was really weird using this, is I got motion sick, right? It's crazy, right? I know, it's just nuts. But again, I don't know if it's just I wasn't used to it. I got like that VR effect, right? If you all used VR, I don't know, at least for me, if I put it on, within 10, 15 minutes, I'm leaning over a toilet and sweating, cold sweats, I'm not feeling good. That's the result I got with this. It was really strange. I was like, okay, I got to turn this off. And it took a while for me to readjust my eyes. It's just like my hand movement wasn't as fast as my eye movement as I'm used to on FPS game. Really weird, right? So as far as performance, again, it was perfectly fine, but it's definitely a learning curve for sure, whether that be for productivity or gaming, but I still think it's based more or less a productivity mouse. Now let's take a quick look at Razer Synapse with this mouse, as there are some different features within this. Number one, looking at right here, you got all your customization. This is the AI prompt that I was showing you before, as you can long press it and then set it to whatever you want. I don't use AI, but again, you can set it to whatever you want and then have it going right there. But you got other functions you can set it as well. Me personally, I just use it as my DPI button. But if you're productivity and you use that, pretty cool to have that feature over there. And then the other cool thing is you can set profiles to different programs that you're using. Again, talking about it being a productivity type of mouse, you know what I mean? Then you can set it to whichever other one you want. Again, I don't use that. It was pretty hard for me adjusting with using it with videos, but really cool to see these cool different features in here as far as having a profile per program or AI, if that's what you use. Now coming over to performance, a lot of this stuff is going to be quite familiar. You got your DPI settings over here. You have your polling rate, and then your sleep, your shutdown mode, and then as far as lighting. And what I preferred, you got smart dimming, as whenever you use it, it'll shut the battery life down or what percentage you want to turn it completely off. I left it off, like smart dimming off completely, because I like that little RGB underneath the mouse. I just think it looks pretty darn cool, but I did keep my brightness pretty low. But as far as the software, most of it is pretty straight to the point, what we're used to. It's just over here as far as the AI and then the profiles to whatever you want set right there are a little bit different than what we're used to with other mice. Now, as far as pricing on a new Razer ProClick V2, the vertical edition is going to come in at 120 bucks, and then the regular version is going to come in at 100 bucks. I have not tested the regular version. Pretty excited to try that one out. But again, with something fresh and unique from Razer right here, and seeing it only being 120 bucks with all its packing, I think that's a pretty good offering. But again, I'm still going to class this as a productivity mouse, unless you're playing a slow pace kind of, again, puzzle type of game or something, then I can see it. But if you're sitting at the desk for a long time, 120 bucks for this incredibly cozy mouse, not too bad. Really cool to see something fresh from Razer.